In this video, we're going to talk about some pretty wild stuff, so buckle up because no other channel is going to share any of these stories with you. And I want to start things off with this video message from the U.S. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
And then comes the fallout. Radioactive poison spreading through the air, water, and soil, condemning survivors to agonizing deaths or lifelong suffering. A nuclear winter could follow, with smoke and ash completely blocking the sun, plunging the world into darkness and cold, killing crops and starving billions. Acid rain would scar the earth, wiping out entire ecosystems. This isn't some made-up science fiction story. This is the reality of what's at stake, what we are facing now. Because as we stand here today, closer to the brink of nuclear annihilation than ever before, political elite and warmongers are carelessly fomenting fear and tensions between nuclear powers. And perhaps it's because they are confident that they will have access to nuclear shelters for themselves and for their families that regular people won't have access to.
As you just heard, she is straight up telling us how close we are to a globally destructive conflict. Now, that is already insane, but this message becomes even more ominous when you realize that this woman has all kinds of top secret intelligence. So, what has she heard that made her so sure about global destruction? Could it be that Doomsday buzzer I told you about?
Ever heard of the Doomsday buzzer? Well, it just went off just minutes after Trump and Vlad got off the phone. Yeah, that conversation with the Big R yesterday. Well, if you didn't know, the Doomsday buzzer, also known as UVB-76 or the buzzer, is a mysterious Big R shortwave radio station that broadcasts a constant monotonous buzzing sound. And every once in a while, when things are getting dicey, cryptic messages pop up on that radio wave. And that's what happened yesterday.
I mean, don't forget those Doomsday fish have not stopped showing up ever since I last made a video on it. In fact, 3 of them have washed up in a single week, which is extremely rare.
A dog walker in Tasmania has stumbled upon an elusive so-called Doomsday fish washed up on Ocean Beach, west of Strawn.
Now, of course, this could all be a coincidence. There is also a good chance that she released this video message to achieve some obvious political goals. And who knows, maybe our agencies are mentally preparing us for something huge. After all, it wouldn't be the first time they did something like this. So tell me if you guys think all these doomsday signs are kind of strange. Now, speaking of strange, there are a lot of strange things about those protests in Los Angeles.
Have you met these two? I like to call them bought and paid for. People have noticed and filmed that in the back of the Museum of Contemporary Art in LA, there are supplies that protesters are able to use, like bags of rocks and cinder blocks and other things. And this is interesting because guess who sits on their board of trustees? Karen Bass. And her job is to ensure the museum's strategic direction aligns with civic values. And if that's not interesting enough, the Saturday before the protests in LA started, the museum held a gala with Karen Bass and a bunch of celebrity donors, including Nancy Pelosi, and they all got around and raised $31 million for the museum. And this, of course, came 2 weeks after they lost grant funding due to Trump's NEA funding cuts. And today, President Trump said that the Department of Justice has opened an investigation to find out who is financing these protests.
And even those who were out of step with what we are advocating, peaceful protest, did not create any violence. Nobody was shot. Nobody was killed. Get it in your head.
LA Mayor Karen Bass set a curfew order in place because nothing calms rioting like enforced bedtime.
Law enforcement will arrest individuals who break the curfew, and you will be prosecuted. Hundreds of officers from police and sheriff departments from across the region and state are working alongside LAPD through a unified command structure. The curfew will be in place tonight from 8 p.m. until 6 a.m.
Question: is it normal for a mayor to declare a local emergency and impose a curfew on a peaceful protest? Of course, I can make an entire series on just how ridiculous that situation has become. However, I want you guys to see who's really profiting from it. I'm sure you've seen this video from Gavin Newsom.
Get your hands off these poor people. They're just trying to live their lives, man. Trying to live their lives, paying their taxes, been here 10 years. Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. You know, I don't give a damn. But I care about my community. I care about this community.
Of course, people laughed at his acting performance even on liberal media platforms. However, this is exactly what Gavin wants. He's trying to act like a tough guy who stood up to Donald Trump. But instead of resolving this issue like a real politician, the guy keeps lying through his teeth.
Gavin Newsom, after President Trump said in the noon hour in the Oval Office that he called him yesterday or the other day, Gavin Newsom tweeted the following. He said, quote, "There was no call. Not even a voicemail. Americans should be alarmed that a president deploying Marines on our streets."
He's a stone-cold liar. I respect the presidency. I've tried to have an open hand with him, tried to work with him. You can't work with Donald Trump. You can only work for him.
And I presented the phone conversation to Fox News, John Roberts and Molly Line at Fox News.
And here is the call log that the president sent me from his phone. This was June the 7th. Now, granted, this was on Saturday, but look, there's 1:22 o'clock in the morning, which would have been 10 o'clock at night, 10:22 at night, California time. There was an outgoing call for 4 seconds, and then there was an outgoing call for 16 minutes.
And this isn't even the first time that he's lied about a call with the president.
President Trump now is redeploying, are being taken away. It's the 79th Infantry. These are I know these folks well. You know these folks well. Here in Southern California, during the fires, after the fires, we are now taking many of them off assignments on forest management.
It's ridiculous how he can lie with such a straight face. I mean, just listen to what he's saying.
Are being taken away. It's the 79th Infantry. These are I know these folks well. You know these folks well. These are the folks. These are the National Guard men and women that have been out there protecting you here in Southern California during the fires, after the fires. We are now taking many of them off assignments on forest management, protecting communities, vulnerable communities against summer and wildfire season. We're removing them from task forces that we've created to deal with fentanyl interdiction.
Folks, this guy has a horrendous record in managing wildfires. Look at the LA fire or even the Paradise disaster. This man not only saved the guilty corporation, but also took money from them.
Governor, why is it okay for you to take money from a felon?
And you know that the way you frame that is going to lead me to ask you to flesh
your office is
I don't know what you're
PG&E was convicted of 6 federal felonies in 2016. After that, you took more than $200,000 to help get elected. How should people trust you to be running the show to come up with the solution?
And now he's telling us that he cares about wildfires? Is this a damn joke? But that's the thing. Gavin wants to be arrested. He wants to act like a victim because that will win him some sympathy votes. And that's why I don't want you to forget that he called me a liar when I said his government was getting ready to change zoning laws. Of course, only a few days later, a liberal news anchor confirmed this land grab.
As we start rebuilding, starting to relax some of the zoning laws, especially in a more working class neighborhood like Altadena, so that rather than putting up single family residences, we allow developers to start putting up duplexes and apartments. In other words, increasing density.
Now, since we are already talking about the LA situation, let me show you a video.
If you can hear me, expect my ass in your office on Monday for attacking my children. This is our city, and this was Mexico. You can't get this out of the land that was ours.
This rhetoric isn't just limited to a few protesters. Just take a look at Mexican Senate President Gerardo Noronha, who said this just yesterday.
Yo estuve en la Torre Trump cuando decía el presidente electo Donald Trump estaba 16 días de tomar protesta por primera vez como presidente, asumir el cargo. Y yo dije, si hacemos el muro, sí lo pagamos. Pero lo hacemos con el mapa de México en 1830. Este es lo que era Estados Unidos en 1830. Y esto era parte de México.
As you can see, the Mexican government is also repeating what those protesters are saying. So there's a chance some of these guys are sponsored by our neighbor. Now, moving on, I want to tell you what's going on with our food.
We have breaking and developing news here. They told us grocery shopping is safe. They told us labels can be trusted. But what if that's all an illusion? Right now, massive recalls are hitting your kitchen. Hidden threats you never saw coming. Over 19,000 cases of zero sugar Dr. Pepper were actually packed with real sugar sent out in Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. If you're diabetic, that's dangerous. 1.7 million cartons of organic, cage-free eggs were recalled after a salmonella outbreak. That's a nasty bacteria that's already made dozens sick. More than 250,000 pounds of canned beef stew were pulled because people were finding pieces of wood inside. Yeah, wood. In your dinner. Ground beef from Whole Foods and other stores recalled for E. coli. That's a dangerous bacteria that can cause serious illness. And even bottled mineral water. Topo Chico was recalled after tests found possible Pseudomonas bacteria. Pseudomonas hits people with weak immune systems the hardest. This isn't just one bad batch. This is a full-blown pattern. Eggs, soda, stew, beef, water, all poisoned or mislabeled, all sitting on store shelves. And we only find out after the damage is done. Why weren't these tested before they hit your cart? Why are we trusting mega corporations to self-regulate what we eat and drink? They call it a recall, but by the time they announce it, you've already fed it to your family.
I don't know about you, but it certainly does not seem normal to me that all these basic food items are suddenly being recalled at the same time. Are they trying to artificially increase our grocery bills? Because if this situation gets worse, you can be certain we'll be forced to pay even more for food. But stories like this one always go under the radar, even though they directly affect most people. For instance, do you know you can be fined for even touching your phone during a traffic stop?
Hey, are you touching your phone? If you're behind the wheel, you could get a ticket. We have big news. A brand new law just went into effect, and it affects every single driver in 31 states. It's called the Touch Law, and if you touch your phone while behind the wheel, you can now be pulled over immediately and fined. That means if a cop sees you holding, tapping, swiping, or even just picking up your phone at a red light, boom, you're getting a ticket. The minimum fine? $50, but it can go all the way up to $450. Doesn't matter if you're not texting, doesn't matter if you're just checking the GPS or changing the music. If your hand is on that phone, it's game over. And yes, even if your car is stopped at a red light or in traffic, still counts.
You can say they're doing this to make our roads safer, but it sure as hell will suck if you have to pay a fine for something like this. Another news story no one is sharing with you revolves around your passport.
This is alarming news. It's finally happening. Your passport is going digital. With iOS 26, Apple just announced you can now store your US passport in your Apple Wallet. Sounds convenient, right? You walk through TSA, tap your phone, and boom, your identity is verified. No physical passport needed, no ID, no paper, just your phone. But convenience always comes at a cost. Because this isn't just a tech upgrade. This is the next step in a global shift toward digital identity control. Apple's rolling this out alongside features like indoor airport maps, bag tracking, and streamlined boarding passes. It's all about making travel easier, but also about centralizing everything you are into a single digital profile. And once your identity, location, travel data, and biometrics are all stored in one place, how long before they start using that data to monitor, restrict, or flag your movements? Ask yourself, what happens when your digital ID gets flagged? What happens when you get locked out of your identity because of a glitch, or worse, because of your beliefs? They'll say you still need your physical passport, but we all know how this works. First, it's optional. Then it's expected. Then it's mandatory.
Folks, this is just a first step towards a digital ID. Don't forget the plans they shared with us at the last World Economic Forum conference.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform?
It's all part of their 2030 agenda. They want to make sure every transaction we make is cashless and we walk around town with our digital ID. This way, they can not only track us, but even control our very lives. That Orb Mini initiative from OpenAI is just another form of creating our digital trail.
Things just got a little scarier. Sam Altman's team has introduced the Orb Mini. It's a compact biometric device designed to verify human identity in the age of artificial intelligence. Developed by Tools for Humanity, the Orb Mini scans an individual's iris and generates a blockchain-based identification, ensuring that the person is verified as human, not an AI entity. This is part of the broader WorldCoin initiative, which has already enrolled over 12 million people worldwide. With the Orb Mini now launching in U.S. cities like Austin and Miami, the technology is shifting from stationary devices to portable, mobile applications.
Fun fact, Sam Altman is now moving those eye scanners to the UK as well, so it's only a matter of time before you start seeing them at every airport, which is very scary to say the least. And that's going to do it for today's video. Don't forget to share your thoughts about these LA protests. Do you think Newsom is using them to become president? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to tune in to the next one.